Welcome to Hope Follows. I'm so glad you're here. I am your host, Julie Kensler, author, broadcaster, and friend along the journey. We bring stories of difficulties and challenges, life issues, anything that is a struggle that we have gone through in life. We have so many different stories, but we always focus on the victory. We focus on that victory lap because it's the hope that follows that hard story that gives us the inspiration and that encouragement. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe. Become one of our friends and followers, and you'll be sure to be notified of new episodes that come out. Remember, they're out the second and fourth Mondays of each month. And also be sure to like and share this with your friends. Now we're back with another episode with Dr. Blanco, Hope and Health, Conversations with Dr. Blanco, where we explore the powerful connection between medical wisdom and not just that, but it's the hope that carries us and moves us forward. Today we have a really great episode. We are going to talk about how to fail.
Planning to fail.
Yes, planning to fail, right?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds kind of negative.
Yeah. It's realistic though, right?
It is. So happy new year. We're here on the new segment of Hope Follows. And but we're also going to add how to plan to fail and still win.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want, is for you to still win. We want to normalize failure, remove shame, and give you a plan that actually works.
Right.
All right, we're going to do this. Everyone starts the year with great new intentions, right?
A lot of expectations on themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you probably hear a lot of patients coming in and sharing all of those.
I do, especially weight loss, especially tobacco cessation, relationship goals, spiritual goals. I want to get off all my medications. What can I do to do that? I think decisions that are generally good, choices. But unfortunately, I think the goals can sometimes be too lofty, where then they're not attainable, right?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that for sure. What does a good, realistic goal look like? Okay, so we talked about how it's not if we fail, but it's when we fail.
Yeah, and I think the most important part, like we discussed, is just to have a plan B, right? Because we're not going to succeed at everything, but we also want to be optimistic to not say, well, I'm going to fail at everything as well. I think the question is, what have I done in the past that, I keep failing, so let me not make that same mistake, and then what can I do different so I can be successful?
I think when we were talking, you had said, well, if a patient says, well, this is how I'm going to lose weight, and they're not going to the gym or they're not changing anything, and you said, so your question to me was, well, how's that working for you?
Right.
What does that conversation look like?
I think the issue really is to first say to the patient, have you lost weight successfully before? And if so, how did that happen? Right. And so they might say, well, I joined Weight Watchers, or I got a trainer. And then how long was that weight stable to stay off, right? It's easy to lose weight quickly. I tell my patients it's hard to keep it off long term. That's where the struggle is real. And so it's really having an idea of, okay, what does this look like? So if I'm, let's say 60 pounds overweight, my goal for you would be, can you lose just 1 pound a week? Because in 1 year, if you're down 52 pounds, the chances that you're going to keep that off are far more attainable than losing that in 3 months and keeping it off not as attainable.
Yeah, and then you have built this long lifestyle, and I mean, in the scheme of things, 1 year is really not that long.
It's not, and I think we can all attest to the fact that it's January and a year's already gone by, and to look back and say, okay, and it's funny when patients come in, they'll say, well, what did I weigh a year ago, right? They want to know, and it's like, well, you're down 2 pounds in comparison to last year, and I always tell patients, you didn't go up, you're not the same, you're going in the right direction. What is your goal? How do you want to, what number are you looking to? Because unfortunately, some patients might come in with, I saw a patient today whose body mass index was 21. She was a little actually wanting to lose more weight, which would have made her underweight. And I had to coach her about healthy numbers and healthy lifestyle more than anything else. So it's still educating patients, not just from a weight loss perspective, but what is a healthy weight number. And I think that's something you have to really discuss with your physician, because especially if patients are taller, right? Like my daughter's 5'11", and when she was younger, she would compare herself to other young women that were her same age, but they were not her same size, height. So they might have been 5'2" or 5'3", and you hear this, oh, I'm 120 or 115, and you think that's a healthy number. Well, if you're 5'2", sure, but not if you're 5'11". I mean, you definitely would be anorexic. So it's educating patients about what is the healthy weight for your height. I think that's the first smart talk to have, because I think people just have an idea, a number in their mind that they think that they should be. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's just one goal, weight
Right.
loss. I mean,
Right.
there's so many more. You mentioned a few already. What are some other goals that people will come in and tell you, I really want this. I want my, and do you ask them that in the beginning of the year too sometimes?
Well, they'll generally tell you. I mean, patients won't come in for an appointment to talk about their goals, right? But they'll say, let's say they come in for hypertension refills, and they say, doctor, I really want to get off my medications. Okay, well, what's one way we can do that? So, you have to explain to them getting off your medicines isn't always the best thing if it's controlling your blood pressure. We don't want you to increase your risk for heart attack or stroke. We don't want you to get off your medication if it's really decreasing your cholesterol. So we're going to have those conversations, but I am a proponent to get you off your medications because I want you to have a healthy lifestyle. But unfortunately, sometimes genetically, right, you can have high blood pressure, you can have high cholesterol because of your genetics, even though you're a very healthy weight, you exercise and you eat well. So most patients who want to get off the medications are generally obese, or they're overweight, or they're not eating well. And so I want to partner with them to say, okay, if we can maybe get you down 5 to 10 pounds, we know that will lower your blood pressure. I have a patient who has been very successful in her weight loss. She goes to the gym every day. She eats very healthy. And we've been able to probably remove 3 or 4 from medications of like, say, 7 or 8 meds total. And so the goal is to get her off all of her medications if we can. And so your doctor should partner with you to have a same goal of, yeah, I'd love to get you off medications, but that doesn't always mean A, it's going to happen, or B, that's the best thing. Let's say you have a thyroid problem. Well, getting off your thyroid medication would not be smart, right? And so, or you've had a history of stroke and you need to be on a blood thinner. Again, not ideal, especially if you're diabetic. You could stop your medications and, your blood sugar could go very elevated to a point of hyperglycemia, and you could go into a diabetic ketoacidosis or a coma. So these things are life-threatening, and I've seen patients do that. Oh, I ran out of my medicines, I'm not taking them anymore. Their cholesterol's horrible, or the blood pressure's horrible. They'll have heart attacks or strokes because their body's under so much stress. So I think it's a lofty goal to, yes, let's get you off the meds, but it's not something that generally happens overnight. And so it's coming up with a plan of, okay, if you can get off these medications or you can lose the weight, there's a good chance I can get you off the medications, especially like for diabetes. That's a topic we have commonly because patients don't want to be on their medications for diabetes.
Even those who are on medication for mental health issues too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think we talked about before, genetics plays a big part, right? Especially for depression, certain types of mental diseases, bipolar, even generalized anxiety. My mom was anxious, I'm anxious, etc. And so a lot of times, and it's a catch-22 because patients will go, I feel great. I want to get off my medication for depression. And I tell them, not a problem. Let's talk about it. Let's remind me why we put you on the medication, right? Well, my husband cheated, or I got fired, or I'm jobless. And, they may have a story, and I'm not in that situation anymore. Life is good. Okay. And so most of the medications we have to titrate you off, and we're happy to do that. And I would tell you probably 65-70% of patients will call the office 2-3 weeks later and say, I had no idea this medicine was helping me in other aspects. And, it's, well, I feel good. Well, because they're taking the medication. So they stop the medication, then they can tell, hey, this was really helping me in ways I didn't realize. Wow. And so unfortunately, then they'll say, okay, this is definitely helping more than I realized. And we continue the medication. Other patients are able to get off of it. Their situation has changed. Maybe they were mourning the death of a family member or a loved one, right? And so it's like, hey, let's get you through this time. And when I tell patients, this isn't necessarily forever. Our goal is not that you're on this medication forever, but some patients, will come back and say, this is the best sleep I've gotten. I feel really good about myself. I'm more motivated to work out. I'm more motivated to exercise. And so those are good things, right? And so it's all, every patient is individual. It's not one drug for everybody for everything. It's maybe it's just a counseling issue. Maybe it's counseling with medications. So every patient's different, but I think it's important to reassess those.
Good. And I know you've also told me in the past, if it's not broken,
don't fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so those are really great goals. You might even have a goal of reading more. You might have a goal of, walking, going to the gym, making some new friends, or rekindling a relationship, reconciling with someone in your life that you haven't spoken with. There's so many types of goals.
Just picking up, I used to love to paint, or I used to love to work out, or I used to love to use pottery, or picking up, I think a lot of times we will put those things aside to be a mother, or to be present, or to be an employee, or to be a wife. And I will ask people, what did you used to do before you did all these things? Well, I used to play in the orchestra, or I used to knit, or I used to go to a reading club, or something of that nature. And so it's like, hey, let's see if you can get back into that, right? I think that community colleges are really great opportunities to take a class in those things that you're interested in. A lot of people will get excited and look into those things as well.
That's a great idea. And I wasn't even thinking about that angle, but for someone who is a new mom, for someone who is a new empty nester, for someone who is retired,
right.
Whether you're a woman or a man, think about the things that brought you joy in your past. I know my son, Ryan, he loves to play music, drums, guitar, piano. And that is his happy place when he's creating music. And I'll remind him, well, if you're having a hard week, have you been playing music lately? No, that's a good idea. And that lifts his spirit. So knowing what that is, so that's part of what we're talking about too. Is so how do you reframe then success when maybe a patient comes in and they have said, "Oh, I'm doing horrible with my goals." How do you reframe that to help them see what they have done and where they could go?
Yeah, I think, again, we always speak about patients giving themselves grace, but the real question is, okay, what was your goal? And was it just too much? Some patients might say, I want to start running again. I need to start running 20 miles a week. Well, let's just start with half a mile every other day. Make this, I would say, get the steps smaller so they're more attainable, and then you can start to stretch that out over time. I think it's asking a patient, well, was this a smart choice to make? Was this goal too much for anybody?
Too lofty.
Yeah, for anybody.
Yes.
And maybe giving them a different angle as to, okay, well, what is your ultimate goal? Someone might say, well, I want to run a half marathon. Okay, well, let's just start with a 5K. Right. And then let's look up to a 10K, and then maybe a half marathon. And I've seen people, just wake up and say, I think I want to run one in 3 months. Well, it's a little bit more than that, especially if you want to be very successful. So, it's asking patients, well, what is it? And then what steps have you taken? How can I help support you? But I think most people try to read about it, or I've done, you always hear people, I've looked online, I'm reading this is that. But, again, assessing where did you start, where are you now, and then how can we get you there to the next part.
Yes, that's great. And I have a lifestyle coach, Holly, and she talks about how important it is to reflect on the previous year. In fact, she takes a whole month of June for us to reflect, see what was good, what went well, what you can improve on, what didn't go well. And then she just takes us through this whole process. And then now by the end of the month, or maybe middle of the month, we're going to have our goals established. And we're going to have workable, actionable steps to that. And I think one of the things, as you're saying, people have these grandeur, huge, lofty goals. So what are the types of goals you see people become more successful with?
Well, it's so dependent. I think a lot of patients are successful when they're ready, right?
Okay.
So if I have a patient says, I want to quit because, I'm planning on getting pregnant or my daughter's getting ready to have a baby and I want to quit smoking, right? Okay. Those are the patients that are generally going to be more successful because they're ready. They want to quit. And I have to tell patients, like quitting to smoke, I think takes almost 11 fails before you are successful,
Wow.
right? So it's not planning to fail, but it's letting them know it's okay if it takes more than 1, 2, 3, or 4 times to quit smoking.
Being realistic about that.
Absolutely.
And hearing from your physician, that is
It's
how
not
it
easy.
is.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not easy. And so, but then setting them up, okay, are you going to use, a patch? Are you going to use medication? Are you going to use an inhaler? Are you going to use like nicotine gum? How are we going to do this? Are you smoking a pack a day? Are we going to go to half a pack a day? Are we going to go to 10 cigarettes? What about a quit date, right? And I'll try and look on the calendar or the birthday, like, okay, your birthday's coming up. Let's pick that as a quit date, or the 4th of July, or when is your daughter due? And so finding that quit date and then aligning them to say, okay, you need to start telling people, because the accountability part is, I think, the biggest factor. Because when you tell people like, okay, I'm going to quit, they're going to hold you to that, right? Especially people I think who love you, that will call you out in love, right? To say, okay, you said you're going to quit. And more importantly, I always say, get a team of people to surround you, to not just hold you accountable, to encourage you, right? Like, I'm not going to say I want to quit smoking and still go places where I'm smoking, or hang out, go as my patients would say it. Well, at lunchtime, I normally go to the smoking section at lunch, where everyone goes to smoke. Well, don't go there anymore. Maybe find some people who are walking during their lunch hour, or call somebody during their lunch hour. But it's breaking the repetition of what they do. Okay. I eat my lunch and then I go smoke, right? And so they go to the same areas. And so it's like, okay, let's find something different. Let's find a different place you can go, or different things you can do.
And it's just reminding me of, I don't know why I thought about this, but maybe someone who has a gambling habit, and maybe they're trying to give that up, and just to stay away from those areas. And it reminds me of James Clear, who is the author of Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits. And fantastic book, if you have not read it, amazing. And he says there's two components of building new habits. Number one is getting started, and number two is sticking with a plan. And of course, that's part of the planning for failure, and that's what we're talking about, and the whole accountability. But one of the things he says is you will be set up for success if you create an environment for it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, for example, if you want to run in the mornings, then go ahead and have your shoes right by your bed. And I think he even said he has runners, people who have a hard time doing it, so they just sleep in their running gear, in their running clothes, and so they get up and they're ready to go. So, however you can make it easy, right, to create those habits, I think is super helpful.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what James Clear is helping us to establish. So, getting started. And I know you had mentioned 3 things that should be part of a realistic, healthy goal. You had said a written plan, set a date to achieve it, and accountability. So let's take them piece by piece. We touched on accountability, but there's so much there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the written plan.
Yeah, so I think the written plan is, making sure patients aren't doing too much, making sure that, okay, how do you want to do this? What is your goal? And then how do you want to do it? And then writing it out so they can plainly see it. And I write things out for my patients all the time. Let's start here, and then once that's achieved, let's do step B, and once that's achieved, let's go to step C, so they can visually see it. Whether that's, let's work on 1 pound a week, or whether that's walking 20 minutes a day, and then by the end of the month you might be 40 minutes a day, right? And so it's writing out what their goal is and making sure it's not unattainable. I think that's huge.
Sure.
And a lot of people call that their journaling, but I think having a master plan and then the accountability part is there because you're discussing it with your physician, right?
Right. Okay. So written plan, and having it where you can see it. Maybe it's in your car, even
sticky notes when you're brushing your teeth, on your panel in your driveway, or your dashboard,
Yeah.
or on your phone, right? I'll see people tape things on the back of their phones because it's always with them, or um, I would see people like write on their hands, you know what I mean, like little reminders.
Oh, okay.
My mom actually used to do that. It's kind of funny. Just, a reminder like, oh yeah, I need to blah, blah, blah. Right. And so
Right.
just a little star. And I'm not saying like tattoos, but,
Right.
just little reminders. You're right. Gentle reminders to remind, or something on the fridge. People put things on the fridge, um, magnets, or write something down just as gentle reminders to encourage them to push them through, for sure.
Right. Because when you see the written plan and you even say it, what does that do to you neurologically?
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's just the gentle reminders. How many times have we, I know, like if you're doing the Daniel fast, or you're doing certain things, and I know I'll say, well, I don't want to have any sugar today. I'm going to try to avoid it. And I'm just naturally eating some. I didn't even realize I put this in my mouth, right? And so you don't automatically, you're just doing behaviors that you don't recognize. And so if you have to put stickies everywhere, like, okay, don't eat the, don't open the freezer where the ice cream is, and don't, certain things that you want to try to remind yourself. I think that's smart, because then it's going to become the habit. Because I think a lot of times people do things, and that's the planning to fail. Like, oh, I can't believe I did it. Oh, well, I screwed up. I'll start next Monday, or I'll start next week, or whatever. And it's like, no, it's okay. Just pick it up from here and keep going. Right. I think that's
Yes.
a big part.
Now, okay, let's talk about that because what if, what do we do if, what does our friend do who's watching and they feel like, oh, I didn't get to the gym at all. It's already January 12th, 13th. I don't know
12th, yep.
what day when we're
Yep.
filming this. It's January
Yeah,
12th.
yeah.
And so, gosh, I guess I just blew it. Oh, it's February 1st.
Right.
Oh, well, forget it.
Life happens, right? There could be a death in the family. There could be your boss wants, you're working later than you want to, or you're just tired. I think it's important to listen to your body, but it's also, okay, maybe working out first thing in the morning isn't great because I'm trying to sleep in. Maybe I need to change my workout time. Maybe I need to do it at lunchtime. Maybe I can make up for it after work. Maybe, and I know for myself, it was straight from work to the gym and then home, because if I didn't do the gym and I got home, I didn't want to work out once I got home, right? I think for other people, it's just figuring out how can I keep going. I know for me, a lofty goal was I'm going to read the Bible in a year. Mm-hmm. And when you hit Leviticus, forget it, right? You're just like, oh, I can't anymore. Or, you just, you just stop and like, well, I'll start next year. It's like, well, can I make up 3 days in one day, or let me just pick back up? And would that be so bad? Would that be so bad if you missed 2 or 3 days of something? Just start again, right? And so I think that's the whole point, is just to give yourself grace that life happens, but it doesn't mean it has to stop. And I think that's the part of planning to fail. Okay, things may happen and I may not be successful to do something every day consistently. However, can I still go? Can I still pick this back up? Can I still go on repeat? Or I'm huge, and I think the third part was the accountability, having that person accountable. You know what? I don't work out well by myself, but I work out great if someone comes. I'll meet you there at 4:00, or come to the house and we're going to go walk. Okay, that person's coming. There's accountability. I'm going to do it because they're there at my door, or they're waiting for me at the gym, right? Mm-hmm. And so the accountability part, and it's funny because they don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But when we're there, it's like, okay, I'm glad we're here. And then, of course, when you're done working out, oh, this was great. I'm so glad we did it. And so it's reminding yourself, like in the book, that from the author, I think on this podcast, he was saying, does it feel good at the time? Does it feel good afterwards? But usually no one wants to before. Right. Ever. I rarely meet people say, I can't wait to go to the gym to work out. It's not a common thread, but almost everybody says, I'm glad I did, when they're done. Yeah.
For sure. And that reminds me of my children, because whenever I would plan some event, do we have to go do that? Every single time they loved it. And so you almost have to have your brain just think, don't overthink it. Just get in the motion.
Yeah.
Just get in the motion, do it. I think James Clear says the biggest weight at the gym is your front door. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Turning that knob, opening it, and going out. Yeah. You just got to do it. And he has someone who, he talks about a man who, I don't know if you heard that part, but this man goes to the gym. I think he would initially just drive to the gym. He wouldn't even go in. It was just to get in the habit of getting there. Then he started going in for 5 minutes and he would leave. And James
Which
Clear
is more
thought,
than what a lot of other people do.
exactly. Well, let's see if it works for you. And
Right,
then
right,
he
right.
eventually had this routine and he was there longer. But when we talk about the written plan and the setting of the date,
Yeah.
and you did mention that.
Yeah.
Do
Well,
you want to
especially like,
expand on it?
well, I think, if you say, like my daughter's getting married in May, do I have a goal of losing so much weight or looking a certain way or being healthy? I think just being healthy is the ultimate goal in general, whether she's getting married or not, right? But a lot of times I hear, especially women, oh, there's a wedding coming and I want to get in a size X dress, right?
Okay.
Or again, the smoking, picking a date, or alcohol cessation, or whatever that may be. But I think dates are huge because a lot of times when my patients come back, it's like, okay, were you successful? How did you do? And sometimes you don't want to say, but you want to say, okay, how many times did you drink since I saw you last? And patients will tell you, like, well, I had a couple slip ups, or hey, I haven't had a drink. We just celebrated, I think, a 4-month recovery for another patient. So that's good because they're also waiting for you to ask. Or, I would hope that some of the physicians would remember and write down, like, okay, here's our goal. Let's bring you back in 30 days. Let's see how you're doing. And I'll even ask patients, how often do you want to come back? Well, I want accountability. I want to come back in 2 weeks. And they'll say it, and absolutely get on the schedule. Let's do it. Right. Or I think I'm good for a month. Most of my patients don't want to go more than 6 weeks without seeing me because I think then they feel like they're going to slip and fail. Right.
Yeah.
And so that close accountability is good because they know we're partnering with them. We're setting them up with either counselors or therapists, or there's a wonderful facility called Recovia, which works with mental health, which works with alcoholism, which works with drug addiction. They do a lot of really good things here in the community. So I like to refer to them a lot to just, again, help patients become successful.
I love that. I mean, friend who's watching right now, have you ever even thought of partnering with your doctor, with your physician in your life goals? Whether it's just like celebrate recovery, it's is it a habit, is it a hang up, is it a hurt, whatever you've been through, or is it really that you just want to read a book a month? And you want to read 12 books a year. I mean, your goals could be deeply meaningful, but they could be even just small as I just want to organize the house. I want to have, my house not cluttered, whatever it is, and setting yourself up for success. So accountability piece. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Accountability with your doctor. We've already talked about that. Who are some other people who we could be accountable with, or do we need more than one?
I mean, I think it's not so much that person as much as it is who's going to hold you to it, right? I think we can say something, but maybe other people tiptoe around us and not hold us back to what we're saying. And so I think it's good to have someone in your circle that is going to be honest with you, that's going to call you out, like, hey, I thought you weren't going to do blah blah blah, or hey, what are you doing, eating or drinking blah blah blah, right? That you said you wanted to stop. And so it's also good to say, listen, I'm going to work on not doing this. Can you help call me out? Can you help support me with this? And finding that person who can do that for you. Sometimes it's a parent, sometimes it's a spouse, sometimes it's your best friend. But you know who that person is that's in your corner. That's not going to judge you, but that's also going to, again, call you out and help hold you accountable. And that's kind of scary, I think, for a lot of people to say, I want to be held accountable, because that's exactly what it doesn't feel good at the time, right?
No,
if
not
someone
at
calls you
all.
out. But I think it's also in how it's done too, right? So if it's like, hey, my goal is to just walk 30 minutes a day, I want my husband to say, have you walked yet? If not, let's go, right? Or how can I help you? Why don't I do the dishes so you can go get your walk in? Or hey, I see my neighbor walking all the time. Do you mind if I walk with you when you walk? Right? Can I join you? Right? So it's finding someone to partner with, because that person's going to be waiting, right, for you, which is some part of the accountability as well. But I think it's finding that person that's there to support you, that can help you in any way they can to get you healthy.
I love that. So how can I ask somebody to hold me accountable again?
Well, I guess if it's your husband, right?
Okay.
It's like, okay, here's my goal. And my husband, I do this all the time. He might say, I'm not trying to drink any soda for the month of January, right? or I don't want to have one beer the entire month of November, or whatever that is.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to tempt him. I'm not going to say, hey, let's go get, fast food with soda. But it's funny because I think putting it out there is then okay. She's gonna remind me. So if we go order something and out of habit, he might say,
Yeah,
I'll
what
have
if,
a Coke.
okay,
And I'm like, no, 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 you're not drinking soda. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
right.
Versus like, what are you doing? Right. So, I mean, there's different ways to go about
Okay,
it.
on how to respond to the
Absolutely.
person. Exactly,
Absolutely.
because then it could feel like, wait, don't tell me what to do. But you wanted that person to hold you accountable.
Yeah, so I think it's important how you do it, right? Because and truly, you might forget, like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot, like I was
Right.
telling you earlier.
Exactly.
So, it's probably where, or let's say I drink soda at lunch every day at work to give me a pep, right? And I don't want to drink soda anymore, so I might give all my soda to one of the girls I work with, or hey, take it out of my fridge or whatever, or make sure I'm not drinking it because I might forget. And so again, and I think your coworkers are good people too, because that's who you're with kind of all day, right? To say, okay, and I'll even say like, don't let me have blah blah blah, or keep this away from me. Okay, and they do a good job of doing that.
Really? Okay.
So whether it's again a coworker, I think my friends are better in that. We used to razz each other all the time to go work out, or let's go run, or let's meet to walk, and so that's good because we'll text, okay, I'll see you Saturday at 8 o'clock, or whatever that might look like. Yeah.
Yeah. And you get so much more than just accomplishing your goal.
Right.
And being accountable to somebody, but it creates the community.
I think it fosters relationship.
Right. Fosters a relationship and it instills trust.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't even think about all the other benefits that come into that.
Yeah, and so that's why walking groups, running groups, book clubs. I think these are important things to belong to. Even Bible studies, right? Like life, we call them life groups at my church, and so it's just different modalities of community of how to belong. They may say we're going to work on. I think one of our life groups is like a hiking club or other things that, okay, let me commit to this. And they're going to send you emails. They're going to send you reminders. Hey, we missed you. Where were you Saturday? Or, things of that nature. So different people will do different ways to gently encourage you to continue.
Now, let's flip it a little bit. So let's say we have a family member who has maybe a family member, I suppose. It could be a spouse, it could be a child, it could be a parent.
Okay.
We all have them, one or the other here, and we see them living a destructive lifestyle.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I think honesty and transparency is the utmost important thing, especially if it's a family member. I mean, obviously it's going to be somebody that you love and that you care for, but it's with gentleness, right? But I will share that I think just honesty is the best way to say. For example, if I have a family member that's dealing with an addiction, okay, I'm concerned about this. This is not healthy for you. How can I help you? I'm here. I love you. I support you. What can I do? Do we need to call a counselor? Do we need to get you to a doctor to get you on medication? What do you need to help you get better? This is my concern. You're 100 pounds overweight. Now, I'm not going to say that to the person, but that's the example. And so it might be, I'm concerned about your health. I'm concerned about your heart, health. We have a family history of XYZ, right? I'm concerned about that. What can I do to help you? Is there anything I'm happy to, do you need food meal plans? Do you need a trainer? Do you need to see a nutritionist? Is there anything I can do to help you? And I just want you to know my concern about your health. And I want you to know that I care about you and I'm concerned about your health. These are important conversations to have. It's also vulnerable for the other person because I think the concern is that they're going to feel judged, right?
Right.
And so it needs to come from a place of concern. But then sometimes you just have to say it and be done with it, and not say it every day or every week or every month. But just I think having that one conversation to say might be on the road to destruction, and I'm concerned because I love you and I don't want you to die an early death that is otherwise preventable.
Right. Wow, that's really good. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And so how can, because we definitely don't want to come off as controlling or
No,
critical. And I
no.
mean, I'm sure I was that way as a parent.
Like all
And
of us in some
yeah.
ways, I'm sure. Right.
Well, thank you. This was a great conversation. If you could just share the last episode you shared, just go walk. I think it was
Yeah.
not
30 minutes a day.
yeah, I mean, just even go walk for
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yes.
Just get started.
Just move.
And just move. I remember you saying that, so I kept saying that to my family. Just walk. And
Did they?
my husband has been walking with me.
Good,
Yes,
good.
he actually
There you go.
he even has walked to get his car the tires or something. He's been walking and riding his bike more.
It's good.
So he's taking our advice on hope and health.
I mean, overall, it's an investment in his health.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And so today, as we close, what can you give for an action step? That'll be our episode finale at the end of each conversation. What would be an action step? We talked about goals. We talked about how to have a written plan, have a due date, get someone or some people to help you be accountable.
Yeah, I guess maybe an action plan, to your point, is just what is your goal? And talk it over with somebody. So, you're not saying something too lofty. And can you partner with someone or something or some place or some program or some community?
Right.
And that then can bring the accountability to itself. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good.
Yeah.
You heard it right there from Dr. Blanco. Well, thank you for joining us today on Hope Follows. And remember to subscribe, like this, share it with somebody. Also, we'd love to get your feedback. So on the YouTube on the podcast that you're watching this on, please go ahead and leave comments. What are your goals? What is your goal? Who's your accountability person? You don't have to share a name. You could just say, oh, it's my spouse, it's my friend. But we'd love to hear from you for sure. And don't forget to go to hopefollows.com if you want to get the book, Hope Follows, and for other resources. Our next episode, what are we going to be talking about?
So I think we're going to be talking about rekindling the romance, especially for those of us married for quite a while, right? How long have you been married?
34
years.
So,
yeah, 30 for us.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's especially if you're an empty nester and looking at, I think, not getting caught up in the everyday normal.
Yeah. So we're going to get creative with that, and we're going to talk about how to keep that rekindled. All right. Well, thanks again.